G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Let's go. My mother-in-law is trying to seduce me, and I can't take it anymore. I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 24 female, for about 2 years. My wife didn't have a good relationship with her mother, 39 female, growing up, and has called her by many names, including man-eater, one-drink tramp, town's favorite tramp, and a lot worse. About a year ago, we talked about having kids, and she wasn't completely on board with the idea, even though she wanted kids. After discussing it with her therapist, my wife decided to at least try to have some sort of relationship with her mother. At the time, mother-in-law was homeless and was crashing on different couches, if not sleeping with someone. Mother-in-law convinced my wife to let her stay at our place for a few weeks, as it would be easier for them to hash things out. I didn't like the idea, but agreed because my wife wanted it. She also assured me that she would kick her mother out if she does anything out of line. My wife also barred her from bringing any of her partners into our home. I work from home, and my wife works from her office, so I have spent a lot more time with my mother-in-law than my wife has. Mother-in-law is a very different person from my wife. My wife is very conservative, gracious, and well-mannered. Mother-in-law is a slob who doesn't like to put on clothes. Mother-in-law mostly hangs out in her lingerie, not ordinary underwear, most of the time, and doesn't like covering up for anybody. My wife spends a lot of effort in dressing up at home, even if she has no plans to go out or to meet anyone. My wife asked me to ignore mother-in-law's behavior because my wife isn't interested in changing her mother's behavior, just repairing their relationship. Soon, weeks became months, and my wife and my mother-in-law did get closer. During the same time, I had to put up with seeing her naked every morning when she makes her coffee. A lot of inappropriate touching and contact between me and mother-in-law, a lot of dirty talk and cringe-worthy suggestions about my relationship with my wife, and general lack of boundaries shown by mother-in-law. At the same time, my wife has picked up some of mother-in-law's habits, like wearing underwear around the house, and has been more sexually proactive than before. My wife always defended her mother and asked me just to tolerate her for a little more time. I used to tell my wife everything that her mother would do to me, but eventually she knew what was happening and just stopped discussing it. On many occasions, mother-in-law has explicitly stated her desire to hook up with me, among a lot of other sexual desires. Last week, I woke up to loud sounds coming from the living room in the middle of the night. I went out to find mother-in-law pleasuring herself on the couch while porn played on the TV. I should have left immediately, but I stayed to watch. Eventually, our eyes met, and kept the eye contact till she finished. I wasn't sure how to tell my wife about it, so I didn't mention it to her. Since then, mother-in-law has been way more aggressive with her sexual advances and suggestions, often rubbing her body against mine under various pretenses. I've also talked to my wife about getting mother-in-law a different place, and she'd asked me for another month. Yesterday, while I was working, mother-in-law walked into my office naked and forcibly sat on my lap and forced her tongue down my neck. I felt really aroused, and mother-in-law gave me a hand with my erection, and I didn't resist. She then proceeded to go to my bedroom and called me to join her. I was ashamed of what happened and just left the apartment. I came back after my wife returned. I haven't told her about this, but I can't take it anymore. I'm uncomfortable with my mother-in-law's advances and feel disgusted with what happened between us. In the comments, learn to say the word no. It's a powerful word. The no needs to be to the wife. He needs to tell his wife in no uncertain terms that mother-in-law leaves or he does. It's like his wife is self-sabotaging. Yes, it sounds like the wife keeps defending her mother, and even OP said they didn't have a good relationship. Okay, but let's also not blame the victim of various counts of sexual harassment and assault. Right? This is it. I wonder how few and rarely this is mentioned. Why have you allowed this woman to remain in your apartment? If your wife won't kick her out, tell her that you are moving and find somewhere else to stay immediately. Quote, I have talked to my wife about getting mother-in-law a different place, and she has asked me for another month. Have you told her exactly what she's been doing? Your wife walking around in lingerie sounds like some sort of weird competition, or she's been listening too much to her mom. Tell your wife it's not working out and you're uncomfortable in your own home. To be honest, it might be good for you to attend one of your wife's therapy sessions and tell her therapist that her mother's presence is a destabilizing element in your home. And OP responds, I've tried to get my wife to kick her out. My wife has been desensitized to seeing her mother naked and flirting with everything with a pulse. I keep trying to explain to her that mother-in-law has crossed the boundaries, but I guess she doesn't want to throw away what she has found with her mother. Mother-in-law has on many occasions touched me inappropriately when my wife was present, but my wife just ignores it, as her mother being herself. My wife keeps asking me to just give her more time, and that she will make it all better for us, and I eventually give in on her requests. Your wife needs a different therapist. She's got serious issues and is self-sabotaging. You need to put your foot down, period. Mother-in-law leaves, or you do. Tell your wife this will destroy your marriage and ultimately her life. And now, onto the update. I told my wife everything that happened, everything I felt, and how I screwed up. She was shocked and shattered. She started sobbing, and when I tried to console her, she told me to leave her alone. She told me that she was disgusted just looking at me. I packed up some of my stuff and left. I'll be staying in a hotel for a few days. In the comments, I'm not sure why your wife would be shocked. Isn't this the same wife who refers to her mother as a tramp? I suppose she's shocked because the husband let himself be helped by his mother-in-law. I'm just confused by the therapist in all of this. If the mother-in-law slept with all of the wife's previous boyfriends and they had such a toxic, volatile relationship, then why would the therapist push for reconciliation and be okay with mother-in-law moving in with the wife? I'm not a therapist, and while I do like the idea of reconciliation, I also know that this was a recipe for disaster from the very beginning. The moment the mother-in-law moved in, she ran things. The wife went in a child mode and excused everything because she was probably raised that way and conditioned to accept everything. Her mum was young when she had her, so it wouldn't surprise me if the wife was brought up being told that the mum gave up her life for her. Meanwhile, the OP was assaulted. It wouldn't surprise me if the previous boyfriends were assaulted too. I don't get how the therapist didn't see that this would happen. Our next post is titled, I hate my boyfriend's female best friend. My boyfriend, 22 male, and his best female friend D, 27 female, and I, 23 female, are studying the same degree. We started dating less than a year ago during spring break, but he and D have been friends since first semester. I knew her, but we weren't very close. She was one of the first to know that we were a couple, and she was happy for us. I didn't think anything weird about it until a few months ago. She calls him quite a lot, almost 3 times a day. They are very brief calls, and for mundane things, schedule, homework, tests, things that can be asked by text. My boyfriend doesn't hide anything from me. He always shows me that it's she who calls him and answers on loudspeaker. The first thing she does after greeting him is to ask, "Are you with her?" Me. And he says yes. Sometimes she calls him after 2 in the morning or when we're in the middle of intimacy, so it's annoying. What made me go from being annoyed to hating her was when we were assigned the same place for our practices. Everything was going well at first. Sometimes she gave me rides in her car, offered to go buy me lunch, and lent me work materials. I came to consider her a friend until sometime later. When other practitioners came, she got weird. She started referring to me as the idiot instead of my first name. If someone asked about a topic, she would say, "This idiot knows," or "Ask this idiot about it." I never had many female friends, so I thought that she was just being funny, and then she started criticizing me. If I made a mistake, didn't do things as she recommended me to, or didn't support her in something, she would scold me as if she were my boss or my mum, always in front of the rest of the practitioners. I've always had a very peculiar humor, and I cannot hide it. If I'm in a bad mood, I don't want anyone to talk to me, and I tend to snap back. When it happened, she immediately got angry and complained about me with other practitioners, saying things like, "Doesn't it bother you that this idiot is so moody?" Or, "Tell this idiot to change her mood," which made me feel down. In addition, she organized a weekly lunch outing with all the practitioners on Thursday, my only day off from the practice. I don't want to tell my boyfriend because they're very good friends, and since he's an only child, he values his friendships very much. I also don't want to be the typical jealous girlfriend who forbids her boyfriend from having female friends, but I can't stand it anymore. I've come to hate my practice. I don't know why she acts like this with me. I know she doesn't want my boyfriend because she's been in a relationship for years, and I'm not a confrontational person to make her stop. Edit, I reached my limit. She called me a privileged princess because my parents are going to pay off my student debt when I graduate, while her parents took half of a scholarship she got. She doesn't know crap about me. I'll tell my boyfriend everything. In the comments, you're going to need to learn to confront someone when they're mistreating you. Even if she disappeared forever, eventually someone else will mistreat you, so you need to learn to set boundaries and enforce them. Apologize for snapping at her, but then ask her not to call you an idiot anymore. OP says, I understand, and it's something I'm working on. FYI, I didn't snap at her, I was just in a bad mood and responded very curtly to a joke another practitioner made. Also, tell your boyfriend, for 2 reasons. 1, he needs to know who she is outside of him, and he needs to know that she is treating his partner this way. And 2, if there are any emotions between them and they start dating, do not feel like you lost him. If that happens, it would have been a doomed relationship anyway. Open communication and honesty is the foundation for any relationship. If you don't feel that you can with him, it's not the right relationship. So a suggestion, then tweak as works best for you. The next time that she refers to you in front of your face as the idiot, say something like, I feel disrespected and belittled when you refer to me as the idiot. My name, as you know, is Freckled, and I would appreciate you using it. You may wish to speak with whoever is running this program and ask for their feedback on this hostility that is being projected at you. Sooner than later, as I suspect that woman will be offering feedback on you to them. And please sit down as soon as possible and discuss the ongoing hostile situation with your boyfriend. Realize she is his friend, but he needs to really listen to you and examine this relationship that he has with her. From the outside looking in, based on what you have posted, it sounds like she is very unhappy that he is with you. I think you should record her calling you the idiot and then play it for your boyfriend, explaining you didn't know how to tell him and you don't know how to get her to stop. You must stand up for yourself in an assertive, but not angry way. Practice what you're going to say a bunch of times before you do it. That'll help you stay calm. If she can't stay calm in return, she will be the one who looks like the idiot. And also, you and your boyfriend should both be putting your phones on Do Not Disturb during intimacy. That's an easy fix for that part of it. And OP says, that's a good idea. Thanks for your help. And the phone thing is not possible. Both my mother and his grandmother are sick, and we must be available for emergencies. And now, on to the update. Thank you very much for the comments. Many were helpful. For those of you wondering where my boyfriend is in all of this issue started less than a month ago, so it's not very recent. About the calls, apparently it's easier for her to call since she's a single mum and is often driving, but that doesn't justify her calls at 2 a.m. I told him weeks ago that it didn't make me feel comfortable, and he immediately asked her to stop. I think that was what triggered her to be mean to me. When I came back from my practice, I told him everything. I tried to be firm, but I started crying. I told him all the things that she has said, that she has done, and how she makes me feel. At all times, I made it clear that I don't expect him to stop being friends with her, but to help me solve all of this, or at least understand why. Maybe talking to her. He was furious, which is unusual for him. He told me that under no circumstances he would let someone treat me like that, and that he didn't care if they'd been friends for years, because, after what I told him, he didn't want to talk to her anymore. He showed me their chats to confirm that there has been nothing between them and apologized for not noticing sooner. I told him that I never doubted him, and that I kept quiet because I didn't want to jeopardize their friendship. He scolded me for it and promised that I can always tell him everything. Now she ignores me. There is only 1 month of practice left, and after that, I won't have to deal with her again. She made a passive-aggressive comment about girls needing their man to defend themselves, and I told her, at least my boyfriend cares about me. which made her go quiet. She always complains that her boyfriend is jealous, checks her phone, and won't let her go out without his permission. She was also kicked out of her thesis group for never showing up for the meetings, so that would be it. I arranged my schedule so I wouldn't have to deal with her for the rest of my practice. And while it all worked out without confrontation on my part, I'm working on being able to set limits in the future. In the comments, "This is amazing. I'm so glad Joel worked that out. I agree, don't completely let your guard down, but to be honest, everything seems great and your man seems amazing by 10, so I would continue living the good life and not worry about it." The best update, and the boyfriend telling her she can tell him everything. It's nice to hear about a good significant other for a change. The nature of the sub that things aren't usually resolved in a positive way, I get it, but I'm so happy to read about an update that isn't some bozo gaslighting or denying some indiscretions. Wow, a good boyfriend who actually listened and took the right option? He's a keeper. I think it's a lot more common than Reddit of all places would like to think. Yeah, if you have more time on Reddit than in actual relationships, you'd think every man will smack you around and every woman will cheat on you and steal your stuff. People are generally quite nice. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.